Welcome, everybody. Today is a special edition of Agent Spotlight for our Keller Williams Chadwick group, focused on our Pinellas offices. An agent came by my office a couple weeks ago, and she was asking me a couple questions about myself. And I said, oh, that's funny. I was just talking about that this morning at Power Up. And she said, I don't think I've ever heard your story, Rachel. And I said, that's interesting. We should tell the team leader stories every once in a while because we don't really focus on it. On ourselves. We're so focused on our agents and making sure that you guys have a spotlight, but I'm sure it's important for you to know who's out here supporting you and guiding you and leading the office. And so I'm excited that today we have team leader extraordinaire, Miss Kristen Agin, joining us today. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you. Thank you.
Where are you joining us from?
I am in the office at Gulf Beaches in St. Pete Beach right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we're going to just, I'm going to start by asking a couple of questions. I don't have Facebook up, but I will get that up. I just don't know where it's shared. Actually, if Anna is watching, Anna is the second Rachel Sartain down here. So if Anna is watching, if she could just post any questions that we have in the chat room, that would be excelente. Or if she needs me to, I can pull up Facebook so I can monitor them. But Anna, either way, just type it in the chat room so I can see what you'd prefer me to do.
She said, yes, I can.
Okay, so I see it there. So yes, I'm sure people are going to have questions for you, Kristen. I just want to encourage everybody to participate as we're going through this. So first of all, Kristen, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in the world of real estate, the larger world of real estate?
The larger world of real estate, it's going on 20 years.
Wow.
I'll be at 20 years in January.
Okay. And, you know, I know that you and I met, 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Here, we were actually in our previous downtown office, and I remember you and I sitting down. It was our second meeting, and you had interviewed a couple other places, and I had asked you about your goal. And do you remember how that conversation went?
I believe I told you that somebody else told me I couldn't hit my goal, and so I wasn't interested in joining that office.
Yeah, it was, I had asked you your goal, and then I started talking about like a plan to get you there, and you said, I'm joining your office, Rachel. I said, okay, why is that? She said, well, I had the same conversation with somebody else at a different office, and they told me reasons why I couldn't hit my goal. I was like, wow, I would never want that. So, but I love that about you because you were so goal focused, but you were also sensitive to other people's language. Mm-hmm. And you didn't let their language bring you down, but you recognized where the limitations in your environment would be and chose not to put yourself in that environment. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, I remember that I was heavily recruited, as all new agents are, by a lot of different offices. And I sought out to find out what the number one office in the area was, what they were doing, who the leader was. And so although you did not recruit me, I was after you. I wanted to find out who this woman was, and I wanted to be in her space, and I wanted to be in the space of the agents who were doing the most business in the area. So I sought after you and chose you.
Well, it's destiny. It was fate. So now, watching you and working with you just during that short period of time, I was like, I've got a real leader sitting in front of me. I've got talent sitting here. And so you and I went down the road of exploring leadership opportunities within our Keller Williams Chadwick group, and quickly identified what a great talent, great leader you are. But how did you build those talents? I mean, tell me a little bit about your past. What were you doing in the past?
Well, back in my, that sounds like I'm so old just saying back in my 20s. In my 20s, though, I started my professional career as a stockbroker, and I worked for Fidelity Investments. I was in a call center. I was on the phone taking 100+ calls a day, literally trading stocks and mutual funds and bonds. And in that role, I quickly became the person who uncovered other assets. And so I quickly got promoted to a senior financial representative and helped high net worth clients bring their assets over to our company, and then did assessments on their assets and how they could better diversify. So that was my first role out of college. And in that though, well, not my very first, it's the first one I count, I guess. In that role though, I was chained to a desk, and I quickly learned that being chained to the desk was not my strong suit. So I moved out to California actually, and began leasing. I was a leasing consultant at a luxury community, and quickly moved up to a community manager role where I got to build a team and maximize the returns on the asset, and do capital projects, and run the budget, and cut expenses, and hire, all those things that you get to do. And so I moved into, when I moved to Florida, actually, there were not jobs in property management, and I'd been in the role for probably 5 years at that time. And it was back in 2005, and I ended up in HOAs and CDDs and development. So I was working as a field director of field services for a CDD, a community development district, for multiple ones, and then a condo manager as well, with a lot of developers. So we were going through the transition from the developer to the privately held association. So I managed a portfolio there, and then became a regional manager for apartment communities again. So in that, I was running about 2,500 doors with 11 different teams on 11 different sites. So that's kind of my short version of my journey to getting here.
Well, and I know that you gave us the really quick, short, brief version, but when you did that, you also, I think you skipped over how much actual real estate experience, team building experience, leadership, overcoming obstacles, like all of that stuff. So I'm going to take you back.
Do it. Go for it.
Yeah, rewind. So a community manager, I think, people get confused as to what that is, what it involves. So tell us what you were doing in California as a community manager.
Okay, so I was working for the #1 real estate investment trust in the nation. So we had large luxury communities, and I loved that. My very first deal that I was on was like 100 units. It was small little, to me, that small little community. And within about 6 months, I got put on a lease up, which means it's a brand new build. We were in the process of leasing it up. And so one of the things that I got to do was be really strategic on how we priced within the market to actually get to full occupancy, and also to build my team. And so I started building teams way back at Anderson University when I was the director of career and employment services for the college that I graduated from. Yet when I was at Archstone, I really learned. At first, I would hire Rachel, everybody that I thought like me, talked like me, they were energetic. I'm like, oh, they're going to be great at leasing apartments because they have good energy. And I learned over time that I actually had to hire and make a team of individuals who were strong in a specific area to make all of the wheels of the bus go round and round, and not just the one. And so there were a lot of failing forwards in building teams and hiring the wrong people and putting way little effort in up front of who I was putting in the seat, and then going through the pain of the long separation after that. So I think California really cut my teeth on starting to build teams. And actually, I have a fun story. Casey Brown, we're both in the same industry. We tag team lease together. We had so much fun. We would double close and all of this back when we were in our leasing days, and we moved from place to place. I would become a manager, she'd become a manager. I'd become a regional, we moved through each other's jobs and all of this. And I remember being in the ocean. She had come to visit me in Florida, and I was frustrated over some things going on in my team. And she said to me, Kristen, if you just get the right people on your team, you are going to soar in this position. And something clicked in me that day. here in Florida that I was not hiring the right people. And it changed how I thought about who I was going into business with and how to succeed through other people.
You know, I heard a couple of things in there, and it's funny to me how you fast pace over the things I want to dive into.
Well, go ahead, bring me back, honey.
100 doors.
100 doors.
100 doors. You had to do the pricing. You had to get them ready for market. You had to find the occupancy, the occupants. You had to coordinate with all the contractors and vendors. That would be like having 100 listings at one time.
Yeah.
I just want.
That was my small property. That was my baby. My lease up that I went to next was 312 units.
Yeah, I know.
I ended with 2,500 units.
I just want everybody who's listening and watching to let that sink in for a minute. How would you manage 100 listings all active at the same time? How would you get them ready for the market? How would you handle putting them on the market? All the interest and the calls and the showings and then the contracts and everything else, because that's what you did. You managed 100 listings at one time, and that was a small version.
Yeah, that was my baby property.
Yeah, so I just want that to sink in for the people who are listening. And then, you know, something as a team builder myself, helping agents in the office build their teams, something that always comes up, especially in the beginning of their team building process, is I need to find somebody just like me. I need to find somebody just like me. They have to have my energy, my personality. Like, I need them to be like me. And really what you need, though, is somebody who has your standards and integrity. They're not going to work the same as you do, but they uphold the standards of the company, because that's really why the customers come, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like you found that out quickly as well.
Yeah, I've heard it said, and I'm trying to remember who said it. Oh, I know Gene Rivers said that if he you know, he can be really kind of sarcastic, and he said something like, "What do we think we are, the gods of real estate? Like, we're the only one that can do what we do." And that's just our ego when we can't let things up and delegate. So when we do realize that we can have success through people and truly put the people in place, teach them the standards, teach them the way, the process, the systems of doing what we do, it's when we become duplicatable. And that goal that we have, as every real estate agent has as they enter in this industry, is to have more time or more money, actually becomes true when you can truly find the success through others and teach others your secret of success, your formula.
Yeah, that's actually what we were talking about this morning on Power Up, is how many people we talk to that say, I just want to do it on my own. Mm-hmm. And like, who do you know who ever did anything all on their own?
Right.
No one. No one's ever done anything all on their own. It's all about people. It's all about teams. You know, something that I know that you did, I was writing some notes, so sorry if I'm looking down. Something I know that you did when you moved to Florida is that you were working with the HOA and the developer or something, and you, I mean, it was so complex, my pea brain couldn't handle it. So tell us about like that big project where you had, I mean, I think you were like involved in roads being paved and like from the ground up, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, a CDD is a community development district. It's a special taxing district. A great example is West Chase over in Tampa. It's a huge master plan community where multiple builders come in and build. And the part of that development is actually putting the infrastructure in place, putting the signs up, getting the drainage put in, all the mapping of the roads, all of that. So I had the pleasure of working in that field and actually helping work with the developer on getting that in place on the CDD side, and then also manage the HOA, which is another entity within the community, to support the funding of the common areas in another way. So,
and how many people did you have working with you at that time?
Oh, Well, I don't even remember how many communities I had. I had one community that was 1,500 doors. I had another one that was 1,000 doors. And I probably had about 10 communities that I was working with, probably small ones down to like 100. So I had 11 communities that I was working. And what I love about that experience, Rachel, though, is I felt like a mayor of a town, because a lot of times we were working, we were working with the developer originally. They were our client. Every HOA goes through a time where it switched balance from what the developer owns to what private owners own, and the boards are actually taken over by the homeowners, the associations, and that transition is really tricky, going from developer owned to homeowners owned, because there's a lot of feelings involved normally in the development process. They've gone through the pain of a new infrastructure being put in, and the clubhouse not being developed on time, and all of these things, and whatever builder issues they had. So I got to run, I remember one meeting, there was a transition, there were about 380 people in the room, 5 attorneys, and I got to run that meeting and just find peace and help both sides come together to have a transition that everybody could be happy with. And so I loved that idea that I got to bring sides together and help them understand each other's point of view and actually get to a point where we were moving forward in the direction that was legally required and what was going to be best for the homeowners as well.
What are some of these things that you've done with these communities and working with those sides and all the emotions and everything that's involved? What are some of the things that you see as like transferable skills for your day-to-day activity as a team leader?
Well, I think on the apartment side, when I was managing multifamily housing luxury deals, I was working closely with investors. One of the companies that I worked with was actually, we were fee managed. So we worked with investors, big money from New York or California, that came and bought these communities. And so I was the fiduciary to make the money out of that community, to provide the income for it, to gain the income, grow profits, and all of that. So my role in that was helping them achieve their goal of whatever their profit margin that they were looking to do. So as I'm coaching top agents to hit this 30-30-40 model in the MREA, I often think back to that experience of helping investor groups actually gain the profit margin that they're looking to get the ROI on the investments that they're putting into their advertising and marketing and teams and all of that, so that they're actually creating a value proposition that's going to create the profit that they want at the end of the day. So all of that is transferable.
And also, so in that position that you were in, you had to answer to like a board of directors or shareholders and such. And you were kind of like this middle lead man, and you had to empower all these people underneath you and to grow those people and to get everything leased. That's really the exact same that you're doing now. Like, you have a group of shareholders or board members, you're this middleman, and then you have your team or the agents in production. And think about recruiting as kind of like filling those doors. I mean, it's the same process now. Not much has changed.
Nope, not at all. And I think stepping into real estate, the idea of being able to coach agents through actually having those conversations of bringing your buyers and sellers together, it takes some finesse to do that, doesn't it? We are paid what we're paid, and our agents have value because of the skills that it takes to actually have those conversations. And oftentimes it takes our agents being able to articulate in a way that the co-op agent might see something different than they would have thought of without insulting them, right? There's a process to be able to have the communication skills to actually bring deals together and get them to a close. Jennifer Orns always talks about how 67% of the population doesn't like to negotiate. So when you have the skills to be able to bring two sides together, there's a power in that. So I think that's another real transferable skill as well.
And one of the things that I always know that you do is that power comes behind attentively listening. Like you listen from curiosity and openness in order to really understand the differing parties' point of view so that you can find the similarities and put them together.
Yeah. Can I talk about one more thing? And that is what always brought me the most joy was celebrating my staff and celebrating their successes and coming together and making it a fun environment. I have the silliest stories of things that we would do in those environments, from hide and seek to all sorts of different parties to
sounds like fun.
Right? Just to and even for our residents to celebrate their successes. And that I am made an encourager. Like you can't turn it off in me. I like to encourage. I like to build people up. I like to see people reach their goals. And you and I both know I stepped into this to build my own real estate business, and quickly this opportunity came, and I realized that I am motivated by helping other people achieve their goals. That is where my drive is. So that's the most fun part to me, is to train people and then celebrate their successes. So
absolutely, and everybody who knows you knows that. So it's a beautiful thing to have. I just want to again remind everybody who is on here to please make sure, if you have questions for our team leader extraordinaire, Ms. Kristen, to please type those in our chat room. But let's keep going, Ms. Kristen. So you have now been a team leader at the Gulf Beaches office for 2 years. You are in the middle of finally an office transition.
Yes, we are. We are moving to Treasure Island very soon.
Tell us about the new office space.
Well, we purchased the old Bank of America building on Treasure Island, right on the causeway. So it's right in the same plaza where VIP is, the Pearl restaurant.
It's the hot spot. It's the main drag.
Right as you dead end into the big Thunderbird, that it's right there on the TI Causeway. We're just so excited to be a part of that community. We've been undergoing renovations, and it is just going to be an epicenter for real estate right there, and other activities in the community. Stay tuned. I think it's going to be quite an amazing collaboration that we have going on there.
And you guys are expected to move in there about 3 months?
Yeah, that would be a great day. I'm thinking maybe it's a little sooner. August sounds good. That sounds right.
3 months was a joke.
If you know me at all after this process, that question, I'm like, normally, really, you're gonna ask me that again? And the great news is that we really are getting close now. So we're almost there. Everybody who's been in real estate for any amount of time knows the construction process is not always the process we want it to be. So we're getting there.
But the 3 months thing was a joke.
I know it was.
I couldn't help myself. So tell us a little bit about your Keller Williams leadership training. If you stop and pause for a second and think back to what has been the best, most impactful class or training or event that you've been to with Keller Williams?
I think I have to go back to my first mega camp. That was my first major Keller Williams event, and being able to hear Gary live on stage and see the culture in action. I think what it just supported what I had been working towards already here, and to be able to see that this was such a more massive ecosystem than I am creating in our office, in our Pinellas Chadwick group, that we are truly a company that's built for the agents and by the agents, and a place where everybody has a voice and ideas are encouraged. And it's never, I've been through corporate environments, so truly to be in an environment where it's a place where change is embraced and growth is encouraged, and it's not squelching of ideas. It's a place where we foster high thinking and conversation to grow real businesses. That this isn't a company that's about you working for Keller Williams. You're putting Keller Williams to work for you, and the systems and tools that are there. So that was just eye-opening for me to see Keller Williams and see Gary in that light.
Yeah, and I think it aligns a lot with your Mary Kay world, which is also very important to you. Which reminds me.
Yes.
I need some mascara.
I have it with me. It's so funny. You're like my only customer these days. I started Mary Kay back in my 20s. That's why I look so good at this age. Woo.
You go, girl.
Yes, what I loved about that is it's all about the mindset. Mary Kay taught me about customer service, about the win-win, doing what's right. And there's so many things that you and I will lean over to each other in a class and say, that came from Mary Kay, we're both Texas companies. There has to be some relationship there. But Mary Kay was an entrepreneur, a woman leader, and has won so many awards for the company that she set up and how she set it up. And I just see so many parallels. I know we do not sell cosmetics. Believe me, you get a lot more commission off of a house sale than a mascara sale. Yet it's still a fabulous company that I learned so many leadership skills from, and just mindset on how. And we can't have a conversation about Kristen Agin without talking about Tony Robbins, because you know how much I'm just a student of his. I was just thinking recently about how so many people, through any life challenge, people give you lots of advice, right? Anybody had a life challenge that everybody wanted to give you advice on? And always, right? And it's what I love about how Tony approaches changing limiting beliefs is that it doesn't have to be a long drawn out process. We can get to that pain point of saying, I don't want to believe this way anymore, or I don't want to settle this in my life or in my business anymore. I can rewrite that story that I'm telling myself and make a change and go in a different direction. And it doesn't have to be this lifelong laboring of getting over what we were taught as children, that we can actually make a change, make a decision, and find a new path forward to reach the goals that we have.
Yeah, Gary Keller actually talks about that in the One Thing book, and they say it takes on average 66 days to build a new habit. But what's interesting is a new habit can be built in 1 minute or in 123 days. And so it's the average of that is what gets to 66 days, but it starts with that decision. So we know that you are a Tony Robbins fan, a Mary Kay fan, a Gary Keller fan. Who else do you follow, like from a leadership or mindset perspective?
Do you see the Brene Brown sitting on my?
You know I do, girl.
Yeah.
You're speaking my love language now.
I know. I've followed Brene since the first viral video, the first viral TED Talk, and she's somebody that I always look to. You challenged me recently with the Daring Greatly quote. When we first entered this COVID situation, and it's not what is it? I didn't bring it, but it's not who's
who's in the arena, who's fighting with you, who's standing out in the bleachers.
The arena, actually fighting for. Yeah, exactly. So I love how Brene thinks, and she's from her work on vulnerability to her work on leadership. I actually put a mark somewhere that I read that leaders must either invest a reasonable amount of time attending to fears and feelings, or squander an unreasonable amount of time trying to manage ineffective and unproductive behavior. That quote really, I think our whole ecosystem in the United States, as far as how we are in companies, is changing. And we're so much, with things like this, we're so much more in tune to, we are all human beings doing a job. And if we get to vulnerability and actually finding out what is motivating somebody, what fears they have, and having those honest, fierce conversations with each other, with our leaders, with our agents, with our buyers and sellers, if we actually have the conversations that we need to have, imagine with buyers up front, having conversations with them, right? To understand what their fears are and motivations are. We might not believe that lie that buyers are liars. We might believe that buyers actually need to have some conversation to get them through their fears, to help them make the decision that they want to reach the goals they want to have. So I loved that quote.
I love that quote too, and I remember using it a lot. And I actually mentioned something recently. People think I don't care because I ask difficult questions, and they seem harsh. And so I've just started saying to myself, when people ask surface level questions, they really don't care anything about what you're feeling. And that's because if you're just going to keep at that surface level, you're going to spend an unreasonable amount of time trying to figure out somebody's fears and emotions. And then you're going to get like a week before the closing table and everything's going to explode and you're going to wonder what went wrong.
Yeah.
But what went wrong is you didn't spend a reasonable amount of time up front understanding the person. So I love that you pulled that quote out of there.
You know, and even me, like there's an agent that I've really been in a close, a top 20% agent that I've been in a close consulting relationship for the past, I guess 5-6 months now. And just this week, I finally got to what's really motivating her. And it took me all this time to finally figure it out. And so I looked at myself and realized, oh, when we ask the right questions and we can truly get somebody to open up and share their dreams and share their fears, we can move them past whatever might be holding them back from that ceiling that they've been hitting. Yeah. And don't give me your goal, because I will exploit it and help you move past it.
I have that same problem. All right, Kristen. So we talked about your past working with big business, big assets, and we talked about moving you into Keller Williams. We've talked about some of the trainings and the teachers that you follow. What is it that other than the culture of Keller Williams? Mm-hmm. What do you love about the company?
I'm going to be real selfish here. How much it's helped me grow. I've grown as a person, as a leader, as a thinker, because of who I'm surrounded with. Mm-hmm. So for me, what I love about it, what excites me, is that I get to be in relationship with people who are thinking bigger than me, that are helping me to achieve my goals. And it makes me really excited to be that person in other people's lives too.
Awesome. And what would you say were our top 3 value tools that you're constantly utilizing?
Our top 3 value tools. I have to go with command right now. The technology, I was just on a call talking about how our agent, there's been over 1 million Facebook leads generated through our platform at a cost of less than $2 million, under $2 a lead. Our agents are actually getting inexpensive real leads that are turning. The guy who's talking about it then said that they were in the process of closing a deal that was going to equate to $20,000 in commission. It's like real live examples of those leads creating opportunities for our agents. And in a world where agents are buying leads at top dollar, it is exciting to me that we have that opportunity for our agents to actually build businesses and get those leads off social media. Yeah. So that's one. I'm going to go old school and go with the 411. This is my 411 for June. And just the idea that we do coach to breaking down our goals, setting clear goals, and then having a clear path of the top 20%, the activity that's actually going to move us forward and towards those goals. The conversation around what's the one thing that by doing such is going to make everything else either, I always say it quite a little wrong, but unimportant or unnecessary, something like that. Easier
or unnecessary.
So that 411, old school, write it out. Rachel taught me you actually have to write it out. Can I tell you that I tried to do it electronic for like 2 months, and then all of a sudden I wasn't doing it anymore, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where's my 411? So I have a stack now right here for all my agents. We've been using the 411 in our accountability groups. I talk about this tool and I say, okay, it's simple and old school, yet I can track businesses that have gone from a conversation where I think I might get out of the industry to now being a mega agent producer. She currently has 7 deals closing this month, and 2 of them are double-sided. And I can track this conversation from 2 years ago to somebody who has faithfully used this tool to build a mega agent business. So for me, that's a huge focusing point and a value proposition that we have.
Okay, so was that 2?
That was 2. Yeah. I think the third is our coaching and training. I'm putting them together, yet the amount of high level conversations on actually being around people who build high level businesses, you know, follow these models and systems. The fact that I've always, if you ask me, Rachel, what, you know, where my strong points are and where my weaknesses are, I've always said that, like, I am not a person to put a system in place at home. You're not going to find me saying, okay, this is where we're going to put this is how we're going to do it. That is not my personality. I used to, before Keller Williams, used to always say, I am not a systems person. Yet, if you give me a track to run on, I will follow the system. And that's exactly what we do. We give a track to run on. You can build your own business, yet you've got a track to run on.
Yeah, you can put whatever cars on the train and on the track you want to. The track is laid. Yes. You just got to go.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
So command, 411, and coaching and training. Yeah. Training at a high level.
At a high level.
I would say that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions of Keller Williams is in the real estate industry, training and education has never been something that people have considered long-term. They think it's needed in the front end, but don't realize how much business coaching and training and just upping your game is needed long-term. So I love that you mentioned high-level training. Well, with that being a myth that I know that we have in the Keller Williams world, what's one of the biggest obstacles or myths that you hear from agents about the company?
I'm going to address it head on. I would say, I'm not going to make more money there. I think that would be probably one of the myths that I hear the most. And
what do you actually see though?
What I see is that agents actually come in and break their own personal records. I was just listening, our spring mastermind's going on right now, and Eric Thomas was talking about under pressure we become better players, and he says this isn't about being number one, it's about being your best. And it just reminded me of how when you actually have the value and those tools that we just talked about, you can break through the ceilings of achievement that you found. And what I find is that the agents that are coming to us, I think of, you know, Mark Bassert, who came in, he'd been doing 3.5. He ended the year at 12 million that first year he came in. You know, he crushed it. Candace Johnson came over. She had done about $1 million in deals at that point. She closed $7 million last year. You know, they're coming over and making a change in their business, and their profit margin is increasing because of being around people who are doing that type of business.
Yeah, I think people misunderstand making more money with spending less. And not always do those coincide.
Yes.
Okay, so we are about 3:41. When I do these, I do them for 45 minutes. I don't go the full hour. So if there was one thing that you wanted to leave our audience with about you, Kristen, that they would need to know, let your ego shine, because you don't ever. Take down all the barriers, let your ego shine. What's one thing that we need to know about you?
I would say that I am truly passionate about helping other people achieve their goals, and being in this place where you can be in the space of positivity and a healthy competition and a place to truly dig in and learn. I mean, if you don't want to learn and grow, don't come over, you know, but don't be in our space. If you want to grow and become something more, I want to grow and become something more. I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish and do, and I'm still in the process of, and I love doing that with other people who are motivated to do that. So we we have so much fun here, yet we do it with the spirit of getting things done. So
all I can think of is, I do. Do you? That's a classic Diana Kokoska. I do. Do you? All right, Kristen. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure spotlighting you today with our Keller Williams Gulf Beaches. You've got a fantastic office there, fantastic team of agents. You're a fantastic leader, and I'm proud to be in business with you.
I'm proud to be in business with you. I have one more thought to share, Rachel.
Please.
I had read that quote, it's not about being number one, it's about being your best. And as you know, when I came over to Keller Williams Gulf Beaches, and we had just taken it in as part of the Chadwick group, you know, the #1 real estate group in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. And we were not number one in our marketplace when I came in, right? We were number 7. And I was like, this was my goal, to become number 1. And last year we hit it, and units closed amongst the Gulf, the beach brokerages. We had 623. Yet that quote really hit me. That it's not about being number 1. It's about being your best. Yeah. And that is where the drive is, to be the best that we can be. Not about perfection, progress over perfection. It is about being your best, though.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen. We are so proud of you, and we're so glad you're part of our Keller Williams Chadwick group. I hope everybody enjoyed this interview and this team leader spotlight, and looking forward to seeing you again next week with the next one. And if you happen to be on here, we are doing some great market statistics tomorrow at our sales meeting at 11 o'clock. And anything you got to add, Kristen, before we say TTFN?
No, that's all. I just can't wait to do this to you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Looking forward to it.